We are live from Los Angeles, California, hitting you with KC Flat to the Bone Shyfold from Pennsylvania. I'm here in Lipstick City. KC, it's melting. It's like 90 degrees outside. I'm melting.
Yeah, it's always not. It's
top. I put my Day shirt on because I love the Bengals. I'm excited for football season. We'll talk about that next month. Don't worry, KC. We'll get into it.
I hope so.
Let's talk baseball. Let's talk home run hitting contest last night. Casey, Teoscar Hernandez is the winner. Who had him in the pool? Not me.
Yeah, not a lot of people. He was
not me.
Certainly an upset pick. I think Bobby Witt did pretty well too, right?
Your boy Bobby Witt Jr., who you've been a fan of ever since he was in high school, he came in second. He was in the final round with Hernandez, but the Dodgers have never had a home run hitting contest winner on their team ever in history of the Dodgers. Which I never thought Teoscar Hernandez would be the guy that did it. I thought maybe Ohtani. I thought somebody else except Hernandez, but he did it. And he's a free agent next year, KC Vlad to the Bone, which is going to help his stock rise.
He bet on himself taking a 1-year contract, and by God, he made a good choice, it looks like, at this point, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about 1-year contracts. Pete Alonso said yesterday that he wants to be a longtime Met. So we'll see if he stays because he's a free agent at the end of the year. He'll be getting some big bucks very soon. Your boy Juan Soto talking about $700 million contract.
Oh my gosh, I know.
I mean, he wants Dan Ratner money, if you know what I mean. I mean, this guy's going to break the bank, and you know what? I mean, that's why the Padres got rid of him. I was wondering, why did the Padres get rid of this guy so quick and so easy? It was like a 25-year-old kid who had a whole future ahead of him. And then I see why. I get it.
Because he's a Scott Boras client.
Yeah, there you go. Let's talk about tonight. Casey Scheinfeld, Paul Skees is headlining. He'll probably just pitch 1 inning. I hope he gets the pitch against Judge. That's what I'm hoping for. But Judge is batting 4th. So he might just strike out the side, this kid. I mean, he's going to throw as hard as he can for an inning.
He's only going to throw fastballs, I assume.
I maybe one breaking pitch, but he'll be hitting the charts at 101, 102. He'll be going crazy. It's going to be a low scoring game. Casey Scheinfeld. I hate every All-Star game, Pro Bowl, all of them.
Yeah, they all are. This is usually the most competitive of them, but it's still not that much fun.
Who's your pick for the MVP?
I am going with Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge, good pick. I don't know how. I think the older guys will play less. The younger guys might, who never played before, who are in their
either him or Gunnar Henderson. Those are.
I took Gunnar in the American League. In the National League, I took your favorite Elia De La Cruz, just because I think Lavallo, who's the manager for Arizona, is going to be playing the younger guys earlier. That's my. Listen. I don't have any insight on this, but I'm just predicting it. So
maybe Paul Skeens throws an immaculate inning, 9 pitches, 9 strikes, and they give it to him, but they won't.
No pitcher's going to win it. Casey pitched 1 inning. Oh,
I know.
This guy was great. He struck out the side. Doesn't mean anything. Whoever gets the game-winning hit or scores game-winning run or does anything spectacular at all, which it's going to be a boring game, like 4-2. It's going to be the final score. It's going to get the MVP. It's not going to be that hard to figure out. But, Casey, we're officially at the halfway point in Major League Baseball. Fantasy baseball will probably, I would say, closer to 3/4.
Yeah.
Right? And
65%. Yeah, somewhere in there.
And again, the trade deadline's not till the 30th. Then the trade deadline used to be like around All-Star break and they moved it back, right? Is that what happened?
I don't know. I know it's been July 31st for a while. I'm not sure where it was before then.
Yeah. I mean, I always felt like, for some reason, I always felt like All-Star break, there was all these trades going on. I don't know why. Maybe I was just dreaming like all these trades, who knows what, drinking, drugs, who knows what. Did I say that? No, I'm just kidding. My producer's right now in my ear saying, don't talk about drugs or drinking. But yes, Casey Scheinfeld, we are halfway. I want to get your take on your favorite guys so far in fantasy baseball and who kind of disappointed you this season or already in the halfway point.
Oh, well, I mean, the fantasy all-stars at this point, I'm just going to go with guys who I made bad predictions about because
that's fine. Again, these are surprises on your end. So this is what I want. I want guys that you like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy's playing this well and his stats are this high.
Salvador Perez. I'll go position by position. Catcher. The
I love
guy's
it.
on a 30 homer, 110 pace, and this guy never. I thought he was going to fall off a cliff by now. I don't know what he batted poorly in June, but I mean, gosh, the guy's just been incredible given his age, given the amount of miles on those knees. It's impressive. Josh Naylor of the Guardians at first base. The guy's been a stud. He's an RBI machine. What is he? He's on a
I mean,
pace for.
I never had the Guardians being in first place at All-Star break. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, they're the surprise team of the American League right now. They're my surprise team. I know the Mariners are playing well, but everybody predicted the Mariners have a good season.
Yeah.
And the Yankees and Baltimore, we all knew that. I mean, but who would say the Guardians would be in first place? Not me. But yeah, I like Naylor. Who at second base?
Second base, I went with Bryce Terang, the kid out of Milwaukee that nobody thought was gonna. I mean, didn't even know he had the starting job at the start of the season, and he's just been this speed demon.
Number 2 stolen bases. Number 2.
Yeah, behind the guy who you could put at shortstop, right? And that's Ellie De La Cruz. Although he was the number 1, 2, or 3 shortstop off of everybody's board, so it's hard to put him there.
Yeah.
But nobody predicted. Like I know you predicted he'd do well, but if I had told you he was going to have that many steals at the break, you probably would have disagreed. Alec Boehm has been, if you had said he'd be the best third baseman in the National League, yeah, good luck. 33 doubles already. It's just
Boehm's been on fire. I mean, the Phillies team overall, if they stay healthy, I think they can win the National League.
Two outfielders.
Yeah.
Brenton Doyle. Nobody thought he'd hit for this many home runs.
Yep.
And Jaron Duran, this kid in Boston, who was a top prospect a few years ago, but didn't seem to put it together. I mean, 22 stolen bases, 10 home runs, already 62 runs scored. Pretty amazing. Pitchers, nobody thought Chris Sale would do what he's doing.
No, I know. I knew Sale healthy would be good, not this good.
Not this good, yeah.
He's older and he's been banged up a little bit, but you're 100% right. He's the Chris Sale that came up with the Red Sox back in the day. I mean, he could sneak in there for Cy Young. I'm just throwing it in there.
No, I don't disagree with you. And then Garrett Crochet. I mean, I picked him up early. I'm not saying I picked him up because I knew he'd be this good. I picked him up because I figured I'd ride a hot streak for 3 or 4 starts. Then he'd get exposed and I'd drop him. And he had a couple bad starts in there, but he seems to always turn it around. And so
Crochet, a bad team, pitches for a horrible team, and he has some great starts and he has some okay starts. But Crochet, I wonder if the White Sox will keep him or if he'll go. There's rumors going around about Skirball, who is one of the candidates for the Cy Young in the American League, about being traded either to the Dodgers or Baltimore.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Well, again, if both teams have a lot of youth, a lot of great players that are in the minor leagues, if I can get Skirball, who's one of the aces in the Major League Baseball, to come in for mid-season, I mean, you have a great advantage against any other team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad move for either team. I mean, the Tigers aren't going anywhere, Casey Scheinfeld, you know that.
Yeah.
But if they can get a couple minor leaguers that are hot prospects, I would pull the trigger. I would definitely pull the trigger. Because Skirball, his contract runs out soon, and he's going to want $100 million contract for sure. And B, you're getting some youth guys that can help bats in Detroit. Their bats are not that great.
Yeah.
So that's somebody that could be on the move. Casey, anybody else you see on the trading blocks? And then we'll talk about waiver wire pickups. Anybody else that you think might be moved before July 30th that makes sense?
Outside of relievers, I see St. Louis trying to move Arenado and Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. I could see Colorado trying to cash in on some of these hitters who are putting up decent numbers because they don't have anything in the. I mean, Ryan McMahon's been talked about.
McMahon said he wants to stay. He said he wants to stay.
No, I know, but he's been talked about. I mean, do you cash in on Brenton Doyle's unexpected year? What about like Brent Rooker in Oakland?
That's a good one. I like that.
You got to look at the teams that aren't really contending and see if there's anybody from them. The Marlins could trade somebody. Jesus Sanchez.
I mean, the rumor is Jazz. I'll say it. Jazz
Chisholm
to the Cincinnati Reds. That's the rumor going around town.
I
And
don't know if I'd want him though if I'm the Reds, given his injury history and the fact that he's really
I
only had
love him.
one productive year.
He's one
You
of
have
my favorite players. I love Jazz
okay.
Chisholm. I love
I
this guy.
think I
I
would
think
rather
power,
get
speed.
an arm if I were you guys.
Yeah, so does every other team in the National American League want an arm. So I don't think we'll get an arm.
No, I mean
Um,
Toronto
we
could do a fire sale, and you could see Bichette going to the Dodgers, and you could see
say it, say it.
Vladimir Guerrero going to the. I still think it's the Astros as much as people say the Yankees, um, because I don't think Vladdy wants New York,
He
and
already said that he considered going to the Yankees. Casey already looked into it before the show, and he
oh, would he
mentioned.
sign long term? Considering how much you have to pay for him, like they're about to have to decide to take Soto on 650 million.
I saw that. That's
Like
all.
how much are you going to pay for this rental? I don't think the price would be cheap enough. Jose Barrios could be somebody they would look to move.
Kikuchi? Kikuchi? What do we do with him?
Kikuchi would be somebody you'd move to. I mean, do you trade Gossman? Do you trade? It doesn't. When it's a fire sale, it's a fire sale. If
Yeah,
you're trying
I
to,
think you're right. I think Toronto had high expectations this year, and they have big contracts with some of these guys because they have big pockets too.
I mean,
I
what is
I think you're right. I think we'll see some movement out of Toronto. I don't think Springer will go anywhere. I think Vlad's the Bone will go somewhere. I think that Glassman. I mean, some of these guys will be gone. I mean, some of these older guys with
yeah?
Bassett Hound could be gone. I mean, some of these
Yeah,
older
I
pitchers
think Chris
could be.
Bassett's a definite if they're
Wow,
selling.
definite.
What do you think of like Tampa Bay and somebody like Randy or Rosarena who's having a down year and Tampa Bay can't afford to pay people who aren't producing? Do
Oh,
you think
I
somebody
think
like
I was looking at that. I think Rosarena, he'll heat up. He'll have better stats. I mean, he's a guy that's on my list, like Rosarena, Olsen, some of these guys that didn't have great first halves. These guys will pick it up and have good second halves.
yeah
Rosarena, I think you're right. I think he's somebody that we'll see gone. Tampa Bay is a team usually that does not want to play big contracts, and I don't see them contending in that division this year like they used to, just because the Yankees and Baltimore are very strong this year. So I think you're
And the
right.
Red Sox are playing great. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not just the Yankees in Baltimore. There was a chance that I mean, the Yankees it was the most depressing Sunday game I've ever watched, where they're up 3 runs in the ninth inning or 2 runs in the ninth inning, get 2 outs, and then a booted ground ball and a misplayed pop up. Essentially, they were short of a sweep. That would have either one of those plays, and they sweep the Orioles to take over first base. But if they had gotten beat by the Orioles, which was just as possible, Boston could actually have been ahead of them by the All-Star break.
the Red Sox is one of the surprise teams in the
Their
American.
pitching is incredible.
I mean, yeah, they're pitching this year. No one predicted it. I mean, even like Cutter Crawford's having good games for the Red Sox, and their closer. I mean, everybody's playing well pitching wise in the Red Sox. And their hitters are, like you said, Duran. Got O'Neill. You got
Devers,
who's I think the best hitting third baseman in the American League.
right now he is. Yeah, if Cassis heats up, you're gonna have him in there. Like there's some Cedon Rafaela is playing well.
I like Rafael too. Casey, let's talk waiver wire. Let's get
Okay.
into it. We're at the 13th minute mark right now. A lot of movement waiver wire wise. We weren't on last week. We had some stuff going on, but we're back this week, obviously. Who were some of the waiver wire guys you're excited about that you picked up, that you saw I picked up? If you want to talk about the cover guy, I'd be happy to talk about that. But who's your favorite pickup so far in the past
Well,
week?
I mean, if raise your hand if you thought there was a guy in Oakland named Lawrence Butler,
Lawrence
more or
Butler.
less somebody who was going to hit more or less somebody who was going to hit 7 home runs in the last 2 weeks while batting over 300. I mean,
Butler did it. So Lawrence Butler.
I don't know if he can keep it up. Colt Keith is a guy I picked up
I like Colt Keith
a couple weeks ago, and he's stayed hot, second base and third base, so 2 pretty shallow positions, and he's been holding it together. And your former Red Eugenio Suarez is playing well lately at the
Yeah,
hot
he's
corner
been
for
picking up.
Arizona.
I dropped him in a few leagues. I was just frustrated, striking out too much, low
Yeah,
batting average.
the
But the past 2 weeks, he's been on fire.
and he's so streaky. So if he comes out of the All-Star break still hitting that well, you can ride his numbers usually for a week or two at a time.
Yeah, he's been on fire. I mean,
Now
he's
don't get me
somebody.
wrong, he's then going to go through a patch where he strikes out
Yeah.
64% of the time. But if you can get the numbers in before that and then drop him once he has a bad 3 or 4 games, you can really benefit from that.
So Colt Keith, to go back, he was on my list too, batting 304, 4 home runs, 10 ribbies. But he's 23 years old. They just brought him up, and he's been tearing it up with the Tigers. I mean, this guy has been on fire. And the Tigers, as we mentioned, they have a problem. They can't hit the ball. So this guy's helping the team tremendously. I don't see him leaving or being
they're
demoted
going
soon.
to do a youth movement with Riley Green and Colt Keith. You might see Torkelson back up again just to see.
I forgot what college he went to, but you remind me later. Torkelson, Spencer.
No Wildcats.
No, it's Sun Devil. But Casey, those were great pickups. Let's talk about the cover guy, Rece Hinds. Casey, I mean, this guy is a home run hitter. I saw him at a home running contest a few years ago. He hits the ball far. I mean, this guy's good. And he broke records for guys that brought up in Major League Baseball with everything from home runs to slugging percentage. I mean, he's just been on fire the past 10 days. I hope you guys picked him up. I mentioned him last week when we were on with Dr. Dan Ratner, just because I was excited that he's playing. He's an outfielder. He plays third base. This kid is going to be in the majors for a long time.
Yeah, he's been awesome.
And I think they might figure him out. They'll have videotape of him. The pitchers might figure him out a little bit, so his stats will go down. He's not going to do what he's doing forever. But ride the wave right now, folks. Rece Hinds is the #1 pickup. He's not picked up in your league. You're playing with a bunch of morons. But thank God I want to join that league immediately. We got Uncle Ted here. Uncle Ted, Casey, what? I can't read
Rafael Marchand's.
Oh, yeah.
Stats, the catcher who took over for Realmuto, screams second half breakout catcher. And you very well may be right. And I agree with you when you say Realmuto at his age and position coming back from knee surgery. Yeah, it's not going to be great. But the guy is batting. I mean, Marchand, since taking over, is batting almost 300, has 3 home runs. The Phillies are one of the best lineups in baseball. And so getting a piece of that is certainly smart, Uncle Ted. That's a great call. If you're struggling at catcher, which 90% of the people in your league probably are, he's a smart one to pick up.
There's the smart one to pick up, and then smart and stash. It's a smart and stash situation. I think Suarez is going to be traded from Arizona. I don't see him staying there. Big contract, not producing. Some team that needs a power hitter, right side, he might be picked up. I like this kid they have in the minors. He's in the high minors. I don't know if it's AA or AAA. Divison de los Santos.
Yeah, De Los Santos. Yeah.
Thank you, Casey. Third baseman, 22 home runs in minor leagues so far this year. 22 home runs. Power guy. He hits for power and he hits for batting average. I like this kid. I picked him up already in a bunch of leagues that let me, and I feel this guy's definitely the future at third base in Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean,
so if Arizona doesn't get back in it, do they trade your bar mitzvah buddy Christian Walker?
You know, that's a great question. I mean, the Dodgers get him. I mean, he kills the Dodgers every game, man. Home run. I don't know if you can do a fire sale with Arizona. I don't know if their manager will permit it. I think you get rid of some of the scraps, but Christian Walker and Corbin Carroll, the mainstays. I don't see them getting rid of those two guys.
But isn't Christian Walker like 31 now or something like that? Christian Walker and Ketel Marte are kind of aging, and if you could get a lot of youth from them, just one of life's little mysteries, you know.
Arizona is weird about that stuff. They like keeping some of the guys around. They don't do big fire sales. They usually don't. I don't see them doing that just because they want to make sure they have something they can promote and some fans that come to some games. Because if they get rid of all these Marte and Walker and even Carroll. I mean,
Well, they're not getting rid of Corbin Carroll.
Carroll's another guy. If you want to get him cheap, get him because he's going to pick it up the
In
second.
fantasy, yeah, you can't get him cheap in real baseball.
No, of course not. Casey, who else do you like? I mean, I have some other names we can talk about. Somebody else that I think you should pick up that's having a quiet year in Chicago for the Cubs is Michael Busch. He's hitting 271 Ks, 12 home runs, 36 RBIs.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Did you know that this year in batting average is the worst it's ever been in like 50 years? With like everybody's batting average put together, it's like the lowest it's ever been in a long time. It's like horrible. People are not hitting for batting average this year at all. And velocity of the baseball is at the peak it's ever been in baseball. I mean, everybody's throwing over 100. I mean, even Uncle Ted's throwing over 100.
Uncle Ted's always thrown over 100.
Yeah, I mean, I got those heat. But I mean, it's just amazing what's going on in baseball with the batting average, because if you're hitting 240, we would always say like, "Oh, that guy stinks." But now it's like if you hit 240,
now it doesn't even hurt you. Yeah,
you're like an average guy. You're like the average Joe. You know, if you hit over 300, you're like Mantle. I mean, you're like, "Oh my God, who's this guy? Over 300? I can't believe it. This guy should be in an all-star team." You know, it's like, you know, when I grew up, if you're like hitting 290, that was like the average. You know, everybody hit like 280, 290 and had 100 RBI. You know, it wasn't a huge deal, but now it's just baseball's changed. I mean, people throw so hard now, and it's all about speed with throwing the baseball. Back in the day, we had Phil Niekro, we had Joe Niekro, we had Charlie Huff, we had all these guys that threw maybe
Tim Wakefield,
exactly 50, 60 miles an hour. And now it's like if you don't throw 100, you don't even make the team. You're in the minors. But Casey, who else do you think who else are you picking up? I know your secrets, and I want to hear them. Or tell me some of the minor leaguers that are coming up in the next couple of weeks that I should.
You know, I don't. There hasn't been any new minor leaguers that I can really think of. Uncle Ted talked about Weston Wilson and the Phillies, who's crushing it in AAA right now, and the Phils they do need outfield bat. You know, we've talked about Kobe Mayo. But I don't have a lot because the minors have been out for the last week also because of the All-Star break, or there hasn't been as much. So
let's talk, Casey. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to play a game with you. And I'm going to say a name. I know you do. I'm going to say a baseball player's name who's in the majors right now. It's not going to be anybody like you're not going to know. And you tell me if you want to pick them up, if you're going to stay away, or if you'll just think about it in the next couple of weeks. Are you ready?
Yep.
He's not the director. This is the baseball player for the Astros, John Singleton, who plays first base. And you know the first base position for the Astros has been suspect in the past couple of years.
No, I'm staying away from him.
So he's hitting in the past 2 weeks. He's hitting 314, and he has some pop. So you'll stay away from John Singleton. Masui Win, is that how you say it?
Mason Win.
Mason Win,
the shortstop for the Cardinals, right? Cardinals.
100%. You got it. Yep. Am I correcting you? Cardinals.
I'm picking him up. I like him. He was a top prospect. So we have a question. Michael Mendez, would you drop Barrios to stash Kershaw, Robbie Ray, and pick up, I guess, Mackenzie Gore? He's saying.
Yeah. So Robbie Ray, let me give you an update on Robbie Ray. He's been pitching rehab, and he's been looking really good. Kershaw's been pitching rehab also. They're both in rehab starts. I think they'll be back on the roster by after the All-Star break, if I have to guess. Mackenzie Gore, I mean, the Nationals to me are like the surprise team in the National. I mean, they're playing great baseball. They're like almost 500. I like their team in Washington. I'm not a fan of the Nationals, but I do like watching them play. Yes, I would drop Barrios, who I think is going to be out of Toronto.
Yeah, and he's been at 6 ERA over the past month too, so he hasn't been pitching well. I'd probably stash Kershaw. I know you're not a Kershaw fan, but the kid knows how to pitch. The guy, I mean, he just gets it done. And
Bulldog, yeah, he's again.
If you can get half a season of healthy Kershaw, that's better than Robbie Ray or Mackenzie Gore.
Remember Robbie Ray
or Frank Gore for that matter.
Frank Gore, good one. Robbie Ray did win the Cy Young. A lot of people didn't know that. That's a great quiz question. True or false? Did Robbie Ray win a Cy Young? Answer is true. But yes,
so he also wanted to say he can drop Barrios, Shane Baz.
I would drop Baz.
Shane Baz, I like. I still believe in him. I would drop Barrios.
I would
keep dropping Bassett.
I can see Bassett in a Dodger uniform. I can see him as an LA Dodger. See if I'm right.
And
I just
Gavin Williams, you can drop. That's
yeah. Gavin Williams has had a horrible year. Casey, let's keep going. Carlos Santana, not the musician, but the first baseman for Minnesota. Casey, what's your thoughts on him? He's batting 244, 13 home runs this year. First base position hasn't been that great. It's not like it usually is.
I'm not a Carlos Santana guy, so he doesn't move the needle for me. So no, I'm not picking him up.
Now I'll say reliever just because he's been unhittable.
To answer your question, Michael, yes, I would drop it. Barrios or Gavin Williams. To say which one I would drop first, I'm probably dropping Barrios. Gavin Williams has at least been a little more effective. But either one you're not going to miss, and I would pick up Kershaw. And you can stash Robbie Ray too if he comes back and he's healthy and he's throwing like he did back in his Cy Young days, but he's back a couple years away from that. So
what do you think about Jen Hoffman for the Phillies case? His ERA is very small. He plays for Philadelphia. I think he'll be the closer from now on. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to give him a shot. I think you got to pick him up. He's on my watch list here, and because they don't have an established closer per se, and so what has he done in the last couple of weeks? 3 saves, 5 innings, 5 appearances, 3 of them for saves. So
his ERA is minimal and his WHIP is like minimal.
Yeah, I mean, other relievers. You got Jason Adam has been pitching well in Tampa Bay and gotten a save recently, 0 ERA. And this Jose Butto in New York, the
Booty. I'm just kidding. Butto.
I don't know. I mean, he's not going to take over Edwin Diaz's job unless Diaz goes through a long bad stretch. But he's getting a lot of high leverage situations, and he's got a save in the last couple weeks. So it's another reliever. Relievers are really thin, as they always are.
They are, and they switch around, especially in July and August. You'll see some people getting a chance to close games. You'll see it, and you just got to stay ahead of the curve. And if you watch us every Tuesday, we can help you with that. Let's talk about the Nationals. You brought up the Nationals, and I like that team. And they have a second baseman named Luis Garcia Jr. I remember. Yeah. Casey, this is the stats for the year for half the season: 281, 11 home runs, 45 RBIs, Casey Scheinfeld, and 12 stolen bases, Casey Scheinfeld.
And in the last 2 weeks, 447 with 4 home runs. So
my question is, why is he not owned by over 60% of the crowd on Yahoo? What's going on with him?
I think people are just slow to give young players they've never heard of, or Washington Nationals in general, enough credit. He's not a name that people look for, and people don't trust him, but I still think he's definitely one of the top second basemen to pick up, and if he keeps it up, he's doing better than Ozzie Albies. He's doing better than Gleyber Torres. I don't understand why he's not.
I don't either. I don't know if it's because his attitude. People don't like him because he doesn't like to sign autographs, or maybe because he has a name where it's very Luis Garcia. It's a very common name in Mexico. I don't know what's going on with him, but these are all the jokes, guys. I'm not serious about the autograph thing or anything. But yeah, I've had a guess. I would say because he plays for the Washington Nationals, small market team. No one watches national games, and no one knows who he is. So I think that's the main reason. But he's somebody, if you need a second baseman and he's available in your league, I would definitely pick him up.
Oh, sure.
Now, somebody that's hitting the ball really hard the past couple of weeks, I don't know if it's a pickup you would want for a long time, but if you need a first baseman, Rowdy Tellez,
for Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. I mean, he's been pounding the ball.
And he pounded the ball when he was in Milwaukee. There's just nothing. He doesn't stand out to anybody, so he gets kind of overshadowed by names.
Right. Let me ask you a question. Tigers pitching, I know it's not that great except scoreball, but
Rece Olson's good.
What's your take on Rece Olson? I was bringing Rece up. What's your take on him?
I think he's a must. He should be owned in every league he's in, I would think.
He's not. He's under 60%. Again, he's under 60%. So nice try.
I know. And I'll give. he's on the chat here, so I'll give Uncle Ted the credit here. He was talking about Rece Olson from the preseason.
No, he was talking about the Olsen twins. He was not talking about Rece. He was talking about the Olsen twins.
And he was on him. And the guy, I mean, he's got a 3.3 ERA, and he doesn't strike out a ton, less than per inning, but a 1.92
strikeouts in 101 innings.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it doesn't pass Dan Ratner's litmus test, but it's close enough. I mean, Dan has to wake the hell up.
Yeah, I mean, Rece Olson, Jack Flaherty, Tariq Skubal, like they have a good rotation, which is why you'd think they might trade some veterans to try to get some young bats in there.
Okay, Case. Anybody else I'm missing that you think we should be picking up this week? I mean, we went through a lot of names, a lot of ideas. I mean, another guy for the Mets that's been having a great week last week, and I picked him up in a couple leagues just to ride the wave for a little bit, is Harrison Bedard. He's been on fire. I mean, this guy's been stealing bases and been hitting home runs, and the Mets are scoring runs.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, if you need an outfielder, I think Harrison could be your guy, just because he's been on fire lately. And I don't know what you think, but I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's not somebody I've really looked at. How's Noelvi Marte doing?
Well, he's a speed guy too. He can steal bases. Yeah. His batting average isn't that good.
No, 175. I just looked it up.
His average isn't that great, but
remember what he did when he came up last year. I still think he'll be good.
His ceiling is really high. I mean, you should pick him up if people are dropping him because of his average. It's a great idea, Casey. And in fantasy sports, that's what people do. People drop people when they're not playing well. Yeah. And sometimes you got to swoop in there and get the guys that are being dropped that are going to pick it up.
Chances are you have somebody doing worse, so you can always drop them and pick that guy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do it all the time, but with him, I think it's just he just needs to get more bats. He'll be good. I mean, he's a speed. He'll help you with stolen bases too. Casey, let's talk, and then we'll go. Let's talk each division. And I just want to hear your take. Who do you think is going to win each division in the American League and National League? Let's start with the American League East. We have Baltimore with the Yankees, I think, are the two top ones. And you mentioned the Red Sox. But who do you think is going to win that division?
I'm going to stick with the Yankees.
So, Yankee, you're a Yankee fan. I'm taking Baltimore. I think they're the youth, and they're the talk of the Major League Baseball with the youth movement, and I think they'll improve their team before the trade deadline. I like Baltimore. We'll see what happens. So you guys, we don't agree. Let's talk about the Central. We have Cleveland. We have the Twins. We have Detroit. I guess I'll ride the wave with Cleveland. I mean,
I got to say Cleveland, although I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota caught them.
Yeah. But I like Cleveland. I'm not saying that because Dr. Dan Ratner is involved with us, but I'm just saying it because they're playing good baseball and they're hitting too. Let's talk about the American League West. And you mentioned Oakland is your team. I'm just kidding. American League West, Seattle. We got Houston, who made a big run the past month. Casey Scheinfeld. Who are you thinking in the American League West?
I mean, Houston has a plus 49 run differential, which is 30 runs better than the Mariners. So I got to think they're going to catch them. So I'm going to go with Houston there.
And Mariners have been playing horrible baseball the past week. They've been on a losing streak and not playing good ball.
They've lost 3 in a row, and the Astros have lost 2 in a row.
Right, but they lost to the Angels. I mean, that's who the Mariners lost to. So,
well, how about Philadelphia getting spanked like 18-3 or something by Oakland?
Let's go, Oakland. Pound that drum, baby. Yeah. Let's go National League, KC. National League East we'll start with.
I don't think anybody's catching the Phillies. I mean, they have an 8.5 game lead, and Atlanta's too banged up.
And Atlanta can't score runs. I mean, if you want to make money, just bet the run line or bet the under on Atlanta Braves games. I mean, you'll go home rich. I mean, they can't score. I mean, they're horrible. I mean, I thought with the heat coming on in Atlanta, I thought, heat rises and the ball rises. It's not helping the Braves at all. Let's talk about the Central, Casey. The Central, everybody makes fun of the Central, but I think that's competitive. No, they have some competitive teams.
Well, they're competitive. Milwaukee should run away with it. Yeah, but if you're looking at run differential, they have a 4.5 game lead on St. Louis.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's run differential is plus 79. Guess what St. Louis's is?
Minus 16.
Minus 38.
Oh, so close.
They have a 50-46 record, but have been outscored by half a run per game. That's crazy.
Not good. Not good.
Cincinnati is 8 games back. Pittsburgh and St. Louis are both in front of them, but Cincinnati has the only other positive run differential in the league in the division at plus 38. It's insane. So,
it's insane. I mean, the Cubs can't score.
So St. Louis either wins by 1 or loses by 11.
I hate the Cardinals. So anytime you talk negative against them, I praise it. And I think you're right. I think we'll see some big movement going on in St. Louis because I know they're not happy with their team. Let's talk now. So you like Milwaukee. I agree with you. I think Milwaukee is the class of that division. And I think they have the best team in that division with the pitching and the hitting, and they're getting Devin Williams back in a few weeks, which is going to help their bullpen. And I think Milwaukee might even get a starter here. They'll probably pick up somebody. I think you're right. Let's talk about, I know you're going to say the Dodgers. I know you're going to say the Dodgers, and I love when they lose, but the Padres, I think the second place team is not even 500.
Arizona and the Padres are both 1 game over 500. They're 7 games back.
So you're taking the Dodgers, right?
Yes.
Even if Dan Ratner's pitching for the Dodgers, you'll still take them.
Obviously. I think, they should put you at first base and
Steve Garvey,
Freddie Freeman, and they'll still win.
They'll still win. I agree. And Betts should come back in a month. Is that
with everybody's luck, they'll also add like Bo
Yamamoto
or something. Yeah,
I think Yamamoto will be back. We'll see him back. We'll see Glass Arm back.
Yeah.
Glass Arm come back, who I predicted would be on the DL, and I was right again. They'll make up some injury, back tightness. He's on the DL. I said it. And then Buehler will be back too. So, and Kershaw. So these are all players that'll be back in their pitching staff. You won't be seeing Knack or the other guys pitching that much longer in LA. So I agree with you with the Dodgers, and I think the Padres could make a run. They could make the playoffs, the Padres, though. I think they can make the playoffs. Just they won't win the division. Casey, anything you want to say before we leave?
No, I mean, we didn't talk wild card, but I think it's pretty obvious that whoever comes in second and maybe even third in the East in the American League will be the wild cards. And you got to look at like Atlanta or Arizona would be my 2 picks for the wild cards in the National League.
Atlanta's not a good team. I wouldn't be putting any stock in that team at all. I just don't think they're missing their 2 best players, and I think when you miss that kind of talent, it kind of hurts.
Yeah.
Atlanta's kind of I don't know. I like watching Atlanta play because I have a couple of their players on my fantasy team, so I enjoy watching them.
And I know you're a big believer in Matt Olson, but he's been disappointing.
I love Matt Olson. I like Matt Chapman, the other ex-Oakland A. I like both of them.
He's in San Francisco now, isn't he?
I know. Yeah, he's having a pretty good year, but I actually had to bench him because I have Rece Hinds playing third now. Casey, we'll be on Thursday at 1:00 Pacific, 4:00 Eastern.
Correct.
We can talk about All-Star Game. We can talk about other things with Dr. Dan Ratner. And if you have any more questions, we'll be happy to answer them. I'm Ross the Boss. That's Lad to the Bone. And we'll see you guys on Thursday. Thanks for watching.
Stay cool.